awakening wonders out there. Welcome to Energetically Speaking. I'm Sally Knopp, and with me today again is psychic medium extraordinaire, Lorenda Carr. Hey, Lorenda.
Hey, Sally. Good to see you. Glad we're back. I can't believe we're back so quick, but
I know, I know this is a bit of an impromptu video. Lorenda and I had the most extraordinary experiences over the weekend. And because it's related to the DNA activation and what happens after that, what the wow factor can be, not only for just us, but for everyone listening, these experiences are something that you can explore and experience yourself. So it's not limited just to Lorenda and myself. We are just simply kind of the ones kind of going through the leading edge here, discovering what's going on, and then sharing those experiences with you. So hopefully it's again igniting the superhuman in you, which is what I'm all about, and Lorenda too. So anyway, she gives me a call today and we had this conversation. We wanted to share it with you, the listener. And it was interesting, Lorenda, because not only did you have an extraordinary experience with your readings this weekend, I too had the most extraordinary experience after, activating your DNA, activating my DNA, and working with a family member we'll just call Bob. And we're going to talk about all of this. But first, I want to talk about what happened with you because it was so intriguing. So go ahead, tell us about it.
so I had done a reading a little while back for a friend of mine, and it was interesting because I was seeing her working on a show. She's actually a choreographer, and she was like, I want to do this. I really want to be involved in this show. Do you see that in my future? And I'm like, side note, I don't predict futures because they are unwritten. So I was like, well, this is what I see. I see in the current energy, I see you still somehow involved in this project. I don't know what capacity, but I feel like it's going to be different than what you thought. So an opportunity does come to her to potentially work on this show, but then the bottom kind of fell out of it. And she was like, and I was like, well, I never claimed to be 100%. So, but I said, but I won't give up. I just keep seeing somehow still involved. And it leads to other things. It actually will be a stepping stone to other things. And so she called me, we talked just yesterday actually, and she was like, you're not going to believe this. So she actually ended up, and I can't believe she didn't tell me before, but she ended up getting a phone call from one of the leads in the Broadway show she wanted to work on, and being a private dance coach for them. And not only that, she was helping them learn choreography. She was helping them practice lines. And so she'll never be seen in the program as getting any credit for that, but she worked privately with one of these actors on Broadway to get them ready. And she was like, I had put it away. I thought it wasn't a thing anymore. And then subsequently, she's now getting more phone calls to potentially do more work in that arena. So I was like, see, when things are coming, you can't just, if they don't make sense, you just have to sit with them and let them be. But that's what I was seeing for her. And it was so clear. And even though it wasn't resonating with her in that moment, or it wasn't what she was kind of wanting to hear, I think, is that I was like, I don't see it. And I just had to stick to my guns because I knew that all the work that we'd been doing, that there was merit to it. And I said, if it doesn't work, okay, then I'll take note, we'll learn lessons and move on. So, but then she also tells me about her sister that I had read for, who was going through some infertility issues. And I kept seeing an image of my friend who'd had Hashimoto's and was unable, had a lot of fertility issues. And then, so that's what I told her. I said, all this information is just coming in. I see Hashimoto's, which is thyroid, has to do with thyroid. And now also disclaimer, sadly, I am adamant. I do not do medical anything, do I? Like, I don't, I'm like, I'm not a doctor. I'm a dance teacher, and I'm not, but I kept hearing thyroid, check your thyroid, check your thyroid. It was so loud and so clear. And I kept seeing that image. And so she went to her sister. Her sister was like, okay, I'm going to get the thyroid checked. Everything came back normal. And then she goes to have IVF done. They found out some other things that were going on. So I was like, okay, well, again, I don't know why Spirit was showing me that, but they did. They were adamant. And then so she goes for her first IVF consultation, and they check her thyroid, and it's at like 2.5, which for a person normal, that's the normal number for everyday person. But someone trying to do fertility treatment, it can't be over 2.5, and hers was 2.6. So she had to go on thyroid medication. So I've learned, especially through this process, as we're activating and I just feel like things are opening up more. And I feel like I have a lot more confidence in what's coming through. I'm like, okay, well, I've also learned just to say, it doesn't have to land and stick right now. It might later, but it doesn't have to land and stick right now. And the fact that this came through so clearly, which up to that point, I would get symbols and I would get messages, but a lot of times it was, through my own experiences, I kind of had to work it out like a puzzle, but now the information just flows. It just comes out, and it's what the sitter needs to hear at the time in that moment, which is also important.
And so many times they're not ready to hear it, or they don't want to hear it. They'll reach out to you because they want validation in their own belief system or point of view. And sometimes their higher self is like, yeah, we played that game just long enough. It's time to get the real message out, because it's time for you to expand. And
Correct.
you give it to them as you get it. And sometimes they do disagree with you until later. And then they're like, whoa,
Right.
and it's been my experience too. It's like, no, I'm pretty sure this is going to fit the narrative I already set about something in my own belief system.
Mm-hmm. And sometimes it's, the people, it's not that they're not open, they're just fearful. And,
Right.
and fear will get in the way of any message. But also, I fully believe that the message will resonate in the right time. Now, I'll never tell someone, no, I know I'm right. There's an etiquette to that. there's ethics to that. I just say, well, let it sit, let it simmer, and see how it plays out. And because I knew, I didn't know how I knew, but I just knew, and I just let it be.
And we had that same experience with a family member of mine, Bob. And Bob has been going through some stuff, and he's worked really hard at letting some old baggage go, getting the vibration cleaned up. Doing remote energy healing, even with Bob, he's been one of my best teachers, and I'm so grateful to him for the experience of connecting with him being open to going on a journey. And just the health issues alone that he's dealt with, we cleared a lot of trapped emotional energies. But there was a couple of things that he's been dealing with, blood pressure being one of them. Now, it's much better than it was, but there was a barrier that was happening. And so, with his permission, you and I collaborated. And, I'm like, I'm not seeing energetically. I don't know where we're going with it. And you're like, yeah, but he's really got to sort this out. This is his connection to mate. And I had to sit with that myself, because doing this work, and you get somebody 80, 90, 95% feeling better from where they were. And yet there's this last little barrier that you're like, yeah, but you're still here. So what is that? And then I had this kind of this layered epiphany that happened over the last 2 weeks. And this has all happened since the full activation of DNA strands 1 through 6. And so as I'm working on the interdimensional communication, or basically connecting in, tuning in like a radio wave into Bob, I'm like, you need to show me what is it I need to bring forward for you to look at, explore. And when I had already kind of talked to him about that when I called you, and you're like, yeah, but this is his journey. This is the last little piece he's got to make some connections to. And all I keep seeing is him, he's dragging around a shovel. And you couldn't feel like, and you even said, well,
I
let's
say he's
just
digging his own hole. I say,
dig
I see
into
a
the hole.
shovel and he's digging his own hole. You have to back off. You have to let this land where it needs to land. You're such a helper. You're like, but I want to help. I want to know. And I want to be able to do. And I was like, this is not our place. Not our place
Yeah,
right now.
right. And the soul has its journey. And he comes from an evangelical background, although evangelical part of him is more subdued as his, and there's nothing wrong. It's where he is in his journey. I'm not bashing anybody. It's just his journey where probably 20, 30 years ago, he might have been closed off to this work that we're doing. But now he's open because he sees we are coming from a place of love and the place of working in the best and highest good for all. And if that takes him on a journey back into his particular belief system, that's great, so long as he's uplifted and feels great. But he had gotten off track himself, and his own beliefs were getting in his own way. So it's almost like the subconscious mind is it has its own set of belief systems, and everything that you view in your experience is going through that filter, and it creates biases and it creates all these other things. And at the end of the day, and Lorenda, you know this because you're a QHHT practitioner, you've seen it over and over again, as I have as a QHHT practitioner. We know that reality isn't something is that is out there working against us, right? It's not like there's a punishment going on, because in love there is no punishment. And the subconscious mind is trying to teach us it's about love. It's about learning how to send and receive love. And how do you do that? Going through your experience. And as you walk through your experience, and I have a note over here to the side, I don't mean to kind of look away, but it's so important to understand that the reality is moving through us. It's almost like the reality is out here, and there are a lot of doors. We have a lot of potentialities. And then we go to the, we go, we decide which door are we going to walk through. And then we make that connection. We walk through that door, but we're walking through a door that suits whatever narrative, belief system we've got going on. Now let's fit everything else into that mold. So then we get into a control issue. Now we're going to try to control it instead of allowing it just to be and allowing us to, what you said, sit with it. So where I got askew in the energy work, and you just mentioned it, but I want to help, that created a resistance energy. The desire to help and not being able to help caused me to go into fear and resistant energy. But he needs help. He needs help. And you're like, take a deep breath, go work in the yard. It will work itself out. I can tell you it's going to work itself out. And you were so adamant. And I would go work in the yard. And I'm like, you know what? I better get a hold of this, because this is, and so knowing everything that I know with how the consciousness works, I'm still, after 6 years, trying to make the circle fit in the square hole. And at the end of the day, as you said, He's the one with the shovel digging his own hole, and he needs to sort that piece out. So, what led up to this was I had woken up in the middle of the night and I felt dread and I felt a threat to me. And it was so strong and and the emotion, Lorenda, as you recall, was so strong in me, I couldn't sort it out. Is this me or is this somebody else? And you said, it's not you. And I'm like, no, I think it is. And this is where I called Lorenda today and said, oh my gosh, you've got to put another feather in your cap because you were so spot on when you were helping Bob and I through this experience. And so, because I had activated my DNA strands, and all this is starting to pop online as it needs to, and as you begin to dialogue with the other side, the universal mind, your guides, your God, your faith system, whatever it is you are connected into, God, Jesus, Allah, whoever,
Ever energy, right?
you're still connecting into that same source energy, that love source. And it would tell me kind of the same thing you were telling me, but then I kept getting in my own way. And so that energy just kept building, 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 building.
But
So
also, I
between
feel like you were trying to fit your own narrative, your own belief. Like you had it in your mind what was going, and like you said, trying to fit the round peg in the square hole. And I was like, it doesn't fit. It
right.
doesn't fit. And I think once you let that go,
That was really hard because Bob's a personal person, personal person to me, family member. And so yeah, and I had to kind of get out of my own way. And that's why you were telling me, go work in the yard, just
I'll get
go focus
grounded.
on somewhere else. And so it was hard. And when I'm talking to clients, I need to really be mindful of how difficult sometimes these journeys can be, and what our belief systems and opinions and filters and biases can do to what I call our monkey mind. And it's choosing which reality door do I want to go through. Ultimately, I chose the door. I need to allow what is in the best and highest good for Bob and myself. And I need to take a deep breath. And I did. I did the hard thing. Anytime I thought about Bob, I just like, I'm going to think about something else. And so I would say, okay, where am I going to plant this flower? Where am I going to move this? Oh, I need to edge, so I kept occupying my mind elsewhere. Well, as soon as I did that, Lorenda, all this information began to flood in. And so one of the things that I did, there was a place that, an office that Bob spends a lot of time in. And I decided to go clean his office. And when I went in there, when he was gone, all I felt was, oh my God, there's so much dread. Where is this coming from? And then I felt so much a threat to my life. And I couldn't sort it out until later. I'm like, okay, and me, I'm like taking it personally, like, is this me? Oh my God. It wasn't my energy. And then you begin to understand, you make the connection. Oh, this is where ghost energy is. When people feel emotion so strongly, they leave an emotional imprint in the environment that they are in, which is why when you tap into the other side and, doing house clearings, the energy is in the walls. It's in the environment. And then you help me make the connection. See, it's Bob's energy. And it was. And the bigger problem with Bob is that when he recognizes it now, is that he was digging his own grave through his own negative emotions and thought processes. And it's so hard to shift when you spend every day, all your life, and you're a man in your 60s, and you are, if you think negatively over 50% of the time, your life experience is going to be negative. And my dad had a perfect saying about this many years ago. You get back what you put out. And that's the nutshell right there. That's the bottom line. But he wasn't making a connection. It was like, yeah, but how do I change my thinking? I've had years of, thinking this way, going to the reality, which is just an excuse for thinking negative. And we're like, okay, but what is happening to you physically is that you're out of breath, you have shortness of breath, you're finding it more difficult to move, your blood pressure is improved, but it's not like popping and releasing like my other clients, which is telling me you have to make a connection here. You have to go that last distance. And as I'm watching some other videos on YouTube, and I love YouTube, there's so much good information out there. There were a couple of people that I looked at that I would just encourage some of our listeners, if they're open enough, to maybe look into. There's Richard Gordon. He put out a book recently, and I believe it's Hacking the Law of Attraction. And I was so inspired by the video I watched today. I shared it with Lorenda. She probably hadn't had time to listen to it. But he wrote a book, and I was so inspired by the time I got done. Like, I am buying that book, and I'm going to share this with all my clients to, encourage them to go buy this book. And I shared it with Bob, and I said, you know what? We can do this. And it's just coming down to the determination. Am I ready to be aware of what I'm doing to myself? And am I ready to allow it to go?
What
And
was, but what was the phrase he used that made your brain fire and call me? What was, you have to tell him what,
there were so many epiphanies today. Which one am I talking about?
felt like his body was,
Dying. Yes.
and because I kept saying, I see a shovel and he's digging. It's like he's digging.
Yes, he said, I'm dying. I feel like my body's dying. And his work is creating more and more and more and more frustration. He feels like it's killing him, which is exactly what you said. And Lorenda, honestly, I have to share this with all of our listeners out there. You've been an absolute great psychic medium for me and my clients to work with because you are all about empowering people and not allowing them to fall into a victimhood. Yes, we can be victims, but you lift people up and help them tune into their own power. And that is an amazing gift that you give your clients because it's transformational and including me. But when we activated that DNA, you went from you were pretty specific. I mean, you really were pretty specific. But now what you're getting is just like, whoa, it's like the heavens have opened up and it's like, this is how I see it. See how it plays out. It plays out the way you said. And that was why I was so like, my gosh, Lorenda, you said digging his own grave. Guess what he's doing? I'm killing myself. And I'm like, okay, we got this. We can change it. Now, can he step out of his current job? I think he can. He can in time, but he has to make a connection himself. And whatever that personal connection is, whatever those last remaining emotions are, that's not something you and I can help him with. We can only say, yes, it's there. And now you start asking yourself the questions because it's not anything that I need to know, you need to know. This is where that personal journey is, that last 10%. If people can make that connection, we can get you 80, 90, 95% there. But if that last little bit is still hanging on, that means you've got to do the work yourself and begin to understand that that holding on is something you need to ask. What is it? What emotion am I feeling when I think about whatever that is causing the frustration, the anger, the sadness, the depression, the whatever negative emotion? And then you have to get very real with yourself. And then you ask yourself, am I ready to let it go? Have I thought about this enough? And I got to tell you, when we activated the DNA, I think you got there in that one point where you said, am I ready to let it go? I'm done talking about this. But there was that last little piece, Lorenda, that you had. And if you wouldn't mind, I know we talked about it in a past video, but it would be nice for those who heard our past videos to maybe share that little experience, because I think that little experience was huge, in my humble opinion.
Unfortunately, that was very vague because I was in theta. That's faded. I remember, so note to anyone watching, if you do hypnosis, you may have to jog my memory. I feel like I remember letting it go and it being done. Like I felt like I felt it. But I don't remember what triggered it, to be honest. It was a fear. It was a fear of, I think, either being wrong or but there was some other personal stuff, but
Yep, it was old stuff.
it was old
Yeah.
stuff. There's a lot of fear, rejection, abandonment, like all the things that are not good for us, and they just linger, and they become toxic. And I just remember, as part of this process, letting go. And now I do remember in that last session, I vaguely remember my higher self saying, there's something else that I don't know yet, or I don't recall, or there's something else, some other stumbling block coming up, but they wanted me to get to this certain point first. And then we're going to clear that last bit of stuff. But it's just, they have to show me, and it's not something that's current. Like they have to show me something, but they said, it's not necessary right now. It's funny how they work in phases with me. But if I do too much, I'm out. Like physically, I don't feel, we have to pace ourselves. But I do remember letting something go in that session. I just don't remember specifically what they were, because
Well, it was old stuff, and I don't think that part really matters. I think what is interesting, it was because we'd already activated, or so we thought, and this is what taught us that lesson. We activated the DNA with you 3, 4, 5, and 6. And even though you're a psychic medium, that full antenna, that interdimensional communication, it was not functioning. I mean, it was sort of on, but it was just the volume was way down. And so we turned the volume up. But all these other energies, so we go through the DNA activation, but it doesn't come online all at once. And like you said, it was coming on in stages. And then when we got into the theta state, it said, well, it's coming, but all this other stuff has got to get processed. And then it activated. And then once it activated, you're like, oh, I thought I dealt with this. And I guess I haven't. And so, well, I guess I'm ready to let it go. Yeah, you're ready to let it go. And it was just like, it was done.
and sometimes this is a good lesson for the class. Sometimes we can have things that we have processed, we've dealt with trauma, that things that have happened to us, or that we've done, whatever it is, we can have worked through it, but that energy can still be there. And that can be a block. Like, and I did not believe any of that until we started doing this work. And then once that energy was removed, and I do remember physically in that theta state, physically feeling it. Like I felt it in the back of my head. I felt it open up, and it was like tingly. And I remember that feeling of moving out that last bit of stuff that was in the way. And they did say that they were going to level me up slowly. And that's the other thing too. Maybe this wasn't a one and done. You and I've been doing this for a while. We had to start with the baby steps, because someone who doesn't even do this work, if you try to go in and be like, we're going to activate everything all at once, that's a lot. It's a lot to do energetically. And so you have to pace yourself, and you've got to find ways to uplift yourself, start clearing out that negative dialogue, start clearing out that negative self-talk, move on from those fear-based thinking. And then you start raising your vibration to be able to process as these DNA strands are opened up. It's not, I don't believe it would work necessarily on someone that's just wants the cure. Hey, Sally, can I just pay you a bunch of money to activate my DNA and my life will be great now?
No,
No.
I can turn on the switch, but ultimately it is the person making that last little bit. Okay, if the switch is turned on, but how do I access the internet? What is the resistant energy connecting into the internet? And that resistant energy may be something long buried, something you think that you've dealt with, maybe. Maybe it's something else going on that you need to address that buried from yourself, something that you don't want to admit. No, I've already dealt with that. Because what we do, and we know this as QHHT practitioners, oh no, I've dealt with that. No, you put a Band-Aid on and you suppressed it. And your subconscious mind is saying, oh, no, 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 no. We're not done yet. We're not done yet. You need to face this, and you need to ask yourself, does it serve a purpose?
Right.
And if the answer is yes, you just, okay, what am I to learn? And that's what Dolores Cannon teaches us, is what am I to learn? And if you've learned it, then you say, well, no, we've already experienced that. We've learned it. Okay. Is there any reason to hold on to it? No. Are you ready to let it go? Yes. And then we ask the subconscious, will you please allow it to go? Help them remove it. And the subconscious mind does that. That's what I think is so beautiful about what you and I are engaged with. We're sort of approaching like pinchers. So you are the psychic medium connecting to the other side, helping people understand maybe what's going on with the higher self from a different perspective. I'm doing the energy clearing and moving the old energy out as much as their higher self will allow. And we're kind of bringing the people in together. And then we get them to a point. Now we got to address the monkey or the elephant in the room. And only that person can do that. And it sort of sounds like a cop out to some degree. People are like, oh, yeah, we could do energy healing. Well, in the end, it's not us. It's your higher self and God doing the work. We're just moving the old stuff out and giving you the roadmap. What would you say to that, Lorenda? You kind of feel that true?
Absolutely. I do. I feel like that's very true. But even just down to when I do, psychic readings, I could give people information, but if they have an expectation or a narrative in their mind of what their outcome should be, then it's not going to land. And that's how it is with this. You have to be open to an outcome that maybe you didn't expect. If you want life-changing results, you can't go in and be like, when you put those parameters around, then you limit, because we manifest those parameters, you limit what you have access to. But when you allow that energy to flow through and you open up to receive, and you don't care, you don't try to control the narrative, you don't try to control the outcome, then you're going to receive a lot more information. And it does, I agree, it does when you say it like that. Well, we can do all the work, but it's you that has to do the final thing to make it work. But it's true. You could be playing soccer. You might be, you are the person that's in charge of getting it in the goal, right? You're the lead. I don't know soccer. You're the lead dude. Your buddies back here, they got the ball. They did all the things. They did all the work. They did that. And then they get you the ball and you just stand there.
Right.
It's not going to go in the goal itself. You can have all the tools, but unless you actively participate and do something about it and get out of your own way, drop those parameters of expectations of a specific outcome. And I say that even in manifesting, when we talk about manifesting, You can work on manifesting something that you want and bringing something to you, but why in the world would you put parameters on it? Why would you say, okay, I want $10?
Usually it's because they believe it comes down to the belief. And, it's interesting that you say that because there are some concepts involved with manifesting that's going to tie into the DNA activation. So what I think our future videos are going to help our clients with is that we're going to talk about the DNA activation. Now we've cleared the slate. Now we've turned everything on. And now we're going to teach people how to fully activate, or not activate, but get online, get into the infinite mind. And when we talk about manifesting, instead of us going, oh, we want, and praying to Sky Daddy to make it all fall into our laps without any effort, we're going to show and demonstrate and talk about in future videos coming up how we can get out of our own way and what the potentiality is, understanding that the realities, there are many, 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 like I said a bit ago, there are a lot of realities out there. Now we need to focus on what reality do you focus on that allows joy in your heart. And once you find the reality that gives you joy in your heart, you stay in the joy and you allow that reality to unfold. And that means stop trying to control it, trying to make it happen.
Right.
Because that is the resistant energy that you talk about all the time.
My guides at one point had given me an analogy to tell people, and I will use this analogy all the time when it comes to manifesting or bringing things into your space that you want. When you go on your phone or your computer on Amazon, you're like, ooh, I want that. Cool, I'm gonna get it in 2 days. Like, you just know that it's coming. You may even forget that you had it, right? But you know in your mind that that thing is coming, and you can see that it's going to be coming and being delivered on your front porch. Like, in your mind, you know that's going to happen. There's no question.
You're excited about it.
But you are not worried about who just received my order, who printed out the order, where's it come from? Does it come from another place? Is it going to go on a truck? What's it going to do? And then who's got the forklift? Who's going to go get who's going to box it? Who's going to put the label on it? Where does it out? You don't get wrapped up in the logistics. All you do, and then 2 days later, oh, I totally forgot about that. Or, oh, yeah, I got it. And so I'll tell people, okay, well, if you want the new house, quit trying to manifest money.
Just focus on the house.
Yeah, because let the universe work out the how. Because if you knew how to do it already, you'd already have it. So why are you asking for the help? If you don't have those things and you don't know how to get those things, then you have to allow the universe to handle the logistics of it all.
And it's interesting how you put it that way. And sometimes you can hear something over and over and over again, but at some point it's like something helps you make a connection and you're like, whoa, that's what that means. And so I listened, and I recommend all my listeners, if you haven't come across John of New, I don't agree with everything he says, but he's so much fun to listen to. He usually has some really good shorts. And he'll say, hey, my opinion, but he did make a really good comparison. And he was talking about faith healers or energy healers and basically what I do. And so I was listening to him and I kind of got like, John, I'm so disappointed. That doesn't make any sense. Da, 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 da. And he was saying in this little YouTube video he said, it's your faith that heals you. And I'm like, and I'm talking to John of New on my computer. I'm like, hey, John, listen, I work with kids all the time. And they don't know that I'm working on them because their parents gave me permission. And one little boy in particular used to have garlic allergies that nobody diagnosed, and his mother kept feeding him garlic because it wasn't showing up in his tests, but it was an energy stuck in a past life in his spirit complex. And I told mom, take the garlic away and see what happens. In the meantime, I will see if I can move the past life energy out. So she took it away. His skin began to clear up because he had eczema so bad. And that is on under my name on Google. So you can see that testimonial. So it's real. And so she's like, oh my gosh, I cook everything in garlic, but his skin's cleaning up. I said, well, let's get him so he can eat garlic again. So we cleared that energy out. And amazingly, his garlic allergy went away. And that child had no knowledge that I was working on him. And even if his mom said, hey, Sally's got to work on you energetically, the kid was like, I don't know, 9 or 10 years old. It's like, yeah, okay, whatever. He's not going to make the mental connection. What does that mean? He came in after, I don't know, a week or so after we started clearing, his skin had cleared up. And he said, Mom, I love my skin. I'm thinking, oh my gosh, this is why I do what I do. This is what gets me up every day. So when John of You said, well, it's the faith that heals you, I felt like I had to save that video. And I did. And then I realized when I was working with Bob and in coordination with what you had said, again, it's the things that you were saying from a whole different perspective. And then it all tied together that kids are easy because they don't have these belief systems that built up over time, these programs and narratives that we put ourselves into and we buy. And, then we get into our confirmational biases and, then we begin to seek out, this, this, and this. And we're all saying, well, no, you need to look over here. No, I'm not. I won't look over there. I'm going to look over here. And even I myself was doing that. And so it made me realize that I can get people, adults, especially older adults like Bob, he can feel better. A lot of his symptoms he was dealing with are gone, but he still had that last little bit to go. And he's not as easy as a child, which for those Christians out there, this is why they're saying, come to us as children, come to us without the biases. And you're saying the same thing, but from an entirely different perspective, which everybody's saying the same thing. You've got to go into neutral. You got to get out of your own head and get into your heart space. You got to know and feel the love of that experience of receiving that item on Amazon without the preconceived idea, oh my God, now how's it going to get here? And it's the same thing. Sometimes you've just got to get, and actually when you do focus on that, it's amazing how things will begin to break down. Well, they said that package would be here by now, and it's not. Where'd it go? It got lost. I have found that true with some clients in the past, and I think about it. Why is it my packages always get lost? Why is it I can never find this? Everybody else finds it. I had a client like that once. It's like, yeah, you're too worried about how it's getting there instead of just allowing it getting there, which ties to what you said.
It's controlling the narrative and controlling the logistics. You just have to keep going about your day, put one foot in front of the other, and have faith that spirit and universe and God's source, again, whatever you want to call it, that we're connected to, once you acknowledge it and you ask for it, it happens. But you have
no matter what it is.
You have to be ready to receive it.
No matter what it is.
Yeah.
So your reality today, if you're focused on negative stuff, then you've already predicted your own future.
Right.
Because if you're focused on, oh, I'm basing my reality on my past experiences, then you're going to carry that forward into your future. And that's where we talk about putting on the ninja mind and why in future videos, we're going to break down how to hack the law of attraction. Because I do feel that we sort of approach it, we're asking for the universe to be, the gift maker for us. And well, where is it? When we are supposed to learn, we are the creator of the reality, not the receiver of it. We are the creator of it.
Right.
And I think that's why a law of attraction doesn't work for a lot of people. It's because they think that, well, I put it out there, where is it? That sort of thing.
Yeah. They're manifesting the want,
Mm-hmm.
not the actual thing, the want. You have to put it out there. It's all about wording and intention and what you believe if you don't believe you deserve the big house, then you're not going to get the big house.
Which is why this work that we're doing, I think, will help a lot of people and has already helped clients that we've already worked with in the past, especially working with you, Lorenda. When my clients talk to you, you kind of give them a perspective that you're like, because you're kind of connected to the infinite mind, their guides and whatnot. And maybe they're not hearing that last little message, or you'll just say, well, the message I'm getting is this, and it may not resonate with them right away. But at some point, it's like, whoa, wait a minute, that makes sense. And so we can help people get to a point, and then hopefully we can guide them through that last little gauntlet if they're willing to take the steps. Because sometimes that last little 10% gauntlet could be the fire they got to sit in. And
Yeah.
are they ready? And it's wonderful if they are, because once they can acknowledge this, the breakthrough, I think, is breathtaking.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. Just getting them to that point. Got to get them there.
Right,
And I feel
right.
like when they're open to the DNA work, when they're open to energy, any kind of energy work and clearing that out. And here's how I see it too. Whether you believe in the juju or not, your subconscious mind will take it on and handle business. So
Correct.
even if you're not if you're like, this is some crazy talk, DNA activation, energy work and clearing out that stuck energy. If you're a person who doesn't believe juju, then it's just like we say in QHHT, you don't have to believe in past lives. You're going to see what you need to see. And your body, your subconscious mind will heal what it needs to heal. And we set those intentions. So it does come down to what you're willing to do, what you're willing to get out of the way of. And if you're willing to allow, whether it's the powers that be or your own brain, if that's where your belief system is, it's just your brain that can control things, then you got to allow it to happen. If you're trying to control the narrative, it's not going to happen.
Right. Yeah. And that's the resistant energy. It's a flowing universe. It's either atrophy or it's moving forward, but it's never stagnant. And so it's learning how to control in your mind and heart and marrying the two together. And once you get the old junk out of the engine, the gunk out of the engine, then you can become a little bit more proactive more easily into creating your new next step. And, the gurus have been telling us this for years, but everybody wants this quick fix. And what the reality is, it's not about the quick fix. It is about your journey, about learning to, and we see it over and over in QHHT, is, what is my purpose? Your purpose is to learn to receive and send love. Well, what is my purpose in life? To do what gives you joy.
Right.
Every single time. You're like, well, wait a minute. I want to be told, am I to be a teacher? Does it give you joy? Well, no, kids, make me crazy. Probably not a good path for you to go down.
Right. Again,
So,
don't need source to know that. What's your subconscious mind say? That's where you tap,
Well, and the feelings are very important. Listen to your gut. What gives you joy? And that is the art of what we're talking about. So once the old stuff's cleared, your DNA's activated, and it will come online as needed, as it did with Lorenda, because it came on in stages. It didn't
Good.
just turn on at once and say, oh, my DNA is activated. Where's the remote control? Oh, there it is. Let it float into my hand. And it didn't do that. You're going to have to work and apply yourself. But it does seem to come in with greater clarity and with greater ease, would you say?
Does. It really does. I mean, the connections have been much clearer. Um, the understanding of things have come through. Being able to be confident when I say, this is what I'm seeing. I think that's the thing is like, I know that as the energy is flowing through me, it's just opened the channels. And that's how mediumship is anyway. And even psychism would tie yourself to higher self, but it still comes from, for me, it comes from a source and it comes through and out. And I've learned that I can trust that to happen. I know that because of the work we've done, my stuff is out of the way. My biases, my fear, whatever is checked at the door. And I can just say it with confidence. And then even if it doesn't land with the sitter, with that client, I'll just tell them, just sit on it. Just sit on it. You came to me to predict your future. If you've already got your future figured out, why'd you come to me? Side note, I don't predict futures, but I can give you a path that you are energetically connected to right now and what trajectory you're on and what choices you have. And that's where being able to be more open to receive that information and get it to them in a way that they understand, even if it doesn't land right away, has been a huge help. And everything's just coming clearer. Some mediums would just be like, well, that's because you're in development. You've been working on it. I haven't. Not likely I haven't. And that's the other thing too. The other kind of experiment for me is I have not been in development classes. I've been super busy with other things. I'm just doing what I'm doing. But I'm seeing this increase in ability and also in my ability to attract. I mean, I just kind of threw out there last week, or I didn't even tell you this. Last week I was like, I'm going to manifest 5 clients next week. It was more like an experiment, but I wasn't going to, if spirit told me, well, you're going to do that by going on TikTok, or you're going to have to do that, I had promised I'd listen. But I kid you not, I have 5 readings this week. They all booked without any prompting. They were just referrals from other people.
Mm-hmm. You didn't worry about where it was coming from. You just said, right. Bring it.
Yep. And I got 5 clients this week. All of them new. They're not repeat clients. So it's been interesting seeing my ability to just let it go and just trust that everything is going to work out the way it's supposed to.
Right. And it goes back to knowing that it is going to work. The faith heals you, the faith, the knowing. I don't have to worry about it. It's like, we got you covered, And once you don't have that pushback, it just flows in. And the more you are tuned into that flow, the faster it kicks in. So it's this cycle. And it's the same way, whichever direction you're going, energy's energy. If you're in the cycle of nothing ever works, nothing ever changes, then nothing ever will change.
My response to people to that is, you're right.
Mm-hmm.
You're right, it won't.
It won't.
You're so determined to be right and to prove the universe right and prove to everyone, see, I told you the other shoe would fall. Well, yeah, because you took it off and you held it out and you let it fall.
Mm-hmm.
Like you created that reality.
Yeah. Yeah. And we're going to talk about that in future videos. And I would like to actually invite people to more energetically speaking. And Lorenda and I are going to start dissecting this a little bit into bits and pieces that you can take and implement And then please, as you're developing, as you're growing, get the old junk out of the way, get the engine cleaned up. So what you're about ready to do, you can do a little bit better, easier, with a lot less frustration. And, she and I work together. We're kind of like these study buddies. So we've already kind of walked down that path and we're ready to invite you to join us. I can help you clear the stuck energy, the trapped emotional energies, the trauma energies, any attachments that you have, any old programming that you've got that no longer works and serves you. We can get those cleared. And then Lorenda can come in and offer, tie into, as she's speaking to you, into the higher self or the infinite mind, and say, hey, your energy looks like it's going in this direction. Is this where you want to go? Because I promise you, she can't see anything that you don't already have going on. And anything that you do have going on, you have the power to change it. She can't see something that you're not supposed to see yourself. Nobody has that ability. But she can sit there and say, okay, your energy looks like it's on this trajectory. Is that someplace you want to go? Okay, well, let's look at some other options. And she does offer a perspective that makes it so much easier to navigate through. So when you kind of marry what you do and what I do, I don't know about you, Lorenda, but my clients are coming back with these wow things going on. And I tell you, every time I get that text message or that call, I'm just like, I'm doing backflips because I know that they feel better and they finally feel in control of their lives. And I think you've had that experience too with some of the
I
feedback
do.
you're getting.
I do, whether it's mediumship, whether it is, messages from loved ones, or whether it's psychism, it's, or even, through the past life regression and working in that type of field. I'm getting a lot of people coming back feeling empowered. And that, even when I know that this is something you taught me too, is when doing the QHHT, I always press the higher self. Now what? What steps? What steps now? And in that case, it's coming from their own mouth. It's not me telling them what's next. It's them, and they have to own it. Because, you got to own, that's yours to own. And people that have gone back, listen to the recordings, whether it is the recording of the mediumship, the psych, whatever the reading, whatever the session, they come back to me later and go, oh my goodness, you're not going to believe what just happened. And we've had the same experience with the multidimensional, hypnosis by proxy situations too, which is the same kind of work. It's just I'm doing it in theta state. So,
Right.
but in all this, we are seeing really good results. But the idea is that for me, ethically, I have to leave you better than when you came to me, more empowered. And it even says it on my website. I'm not here to cure you. I'm not here to predict your future. I'm not here to tell you what to do, or if you want to lose weight or stop smoking, well, then we can talk about that, but I'm going to tell you how to do it. I'm not going to do it for you. And you give them that power. And then if you think about it, if you take on something and you do it really well, what's the joy? Think about the joy and the pride that comes with that of accomplishment. And that's my goal, is to empower and leave you better and give you options.
Right, right. And, that's what these rest of these videos are going to be about is, as my website says, ignite the superhuman in you. And that's really our goal. Because we're here for a finite time, and hopefully what we've learned, you can learn and take it even further and help those around you, your friends, your family. It's about empowering yourself. It's about uplifting yourself and enjoying your journey ahead. So no matter where you are in life, you can turn it around. If you're still here, you can turn it around. You'll probably turn around on the other side too. But we're going to focus on this side of the realm for right now. Hey, Lorenda, where can people find you?
They can find me on all kinds of places, but my website is www.spiritmessagesfromtheotherside.com. I'm also Lorenda Carr Medium on TikTok, Instagram. You can find me on here on YouTube as well. So yeah, that's
Great.
all kinds of places, but probably the easiest is to find me on my website because all the links to all the other things are on my website.
Great. Thank you. And if you're interested in activating your DNA, clearing old trapped emotional energies and trauma energies, getting rid of those anchors and potentially those bad negative programmings, reach out to me at sallyknop.com or sallyknop@gmail.com. And we look forward to speaking to you and helping you ignite the superhuman in you. Thanks, Lorenda, for joining me. I'm going to go ahead and end our video for today and ask everybody give this a thumbs up, make a comment if you can, and look forward to our upcoming videos on energetically speaking on how to do just that, ignite the superhuman in you. Take care for now.